Hello everyone, and welcome to another Simul Academy video YouTube clip. All right, so if you've watched some of our previous clips, you might well know me. And if you haven't seen any of our previous clips, please do. You're sure to find something interesting or useful, or we hope both. So my name is Mark, and I teach here at Simul Academy. And today's topic is paraphrasing. Okay. So what it is, why we do it, and importantly, how to do it. Okay, so what it is, first of all. So put really simply, paraphrasing is restating an idea, a fact, or an opinion in a different way whilst maintaining the meaning. So why do we paraphrase? Well, basically to improve our vocabulary, to build our vocabulary, and to practice manipulating language. And to clarify meaning. Also, we want to suit the listener. And finally, it adds variety to your English. We naturally paraphrase all the time. And at Simul, we practice paraphrasing to help interpreters cope with many different situations. Paraphrasing helps by increasing agility and flexibility when using English. So now let's take a look at an example. Here's the original. Pause the clip and see if you can paraphrase. In an attempt to reverse the previous trend of recklessly destroying habitats and species, Yellowstone National Park in the US has reintroduced wolves. This was done to re-establish the ecosystem as it had been in the past. Similarly, there has recently been discussion of reintroducing the wolf in Japan. This is because herds of deer are becoming unruly and unmanageable. This is proving to be a very controversial issue, and debate is becoming extremely heated between environmentalists who advocate the return of wolves and those who are more skeptical and worry about personal security. So, here is an example paraphrase. To make up for carelessly damaging animals and their environment, and to restore the original ecology of Yellowstone National Park in the US, wolves were brought back. As deer are growing in numbers and overwhelming the countryside in Japan, there has been talk of importing some wolves. Despite support from environmentalists, not everyone thinks this is a good idea, as there are concerns over people's safety. Let's look at how we paraphrased the first part. So in the original, we had, in an attempt to reverse the previous trend of recklessly destroying habitats and species, and our paraphrase was to make up for carelessly damaging animals and their environment. As can be seen, we've changed the underlying terms. Here's a list of the changed terms. Effectively, we're using more common terms, which the listener could be more familiar with. Attempt to reverse, the simpler make up for, recklessly destroying, carelessly damaging, habitats and species, animals and their environment. Now let's see how we paraphrased the next part. The original, Yellowstone National Park in the US has reintroduced wolves. This was done to re-establish the ecosystem as it had been in the past. And our paraphrase, to restore the original ecology of Yellowstone National Park in the US, wolves were brought back. As can be seen, we've changed the order and grammar of the information and simplified and clarifying by putting the reason first. As before, we've changed some of the terms. Below are the changed and simplified terms. Reintroduced, brought back, to re-establish the ecosystem as it had been in the past, to restore the original ecology. So let's move on and take a look at the next part. Similarly, there has recently been discussion of reintroducing the wolf in Japan. This is because herds of deer are becoming unruly and unmanageable. And our paraphrase, as deer are growing in numbers and overwhelming the countryside in Japan, there has been talk of importing some wolves. So, by changing the order and grammar of the information, we have simplified this section. As before, we've used alternative terms which are clearer and less ambiguous. So, unruly and unmanageable becomes overwhelming the countryside, and reintroducing becomes the far clearer and less ambiguous importing. So let's take a look at the final section. So our original was, this is proving to be a very controversial issue, and debate is becoming extremely heated between environmentalists who advocate the return of wolves and those who are more skeptical and worry about personal security. And our paraphrase, as you can see, it's much shorter and far simpler. Despite support from environmentalists, not everyone thinks this is a good idea, as there are concerns over people's safety. And by simplifying it, we've made it easier to understand. And besides changing the order of information and grammar, we have simplified some terms. So this shows how we can change the register to suit the listener. Below is an example change. This is proving to be a very controversial issue. 2, not everyone thinks this is a good idea. All right, to quickly summarize what we've covered. We've seen examples of replacing terms. Now, to help you do this, make use of a dictionary and a thesaurus, and you can also use a collocation dictionary or a reverse dictionary. Now, reversing the order of information and changing the grammar helps with manipulating language, and it increases linguistic flexibility and agility. Changing register helps you fit your message to the audience. Think about who you're talking to so you can judge the appropriate level of formality. Okay, well, that's it. So we hope you found this quick guide useful, and good luck with practicing paraphrasing.